Hello. Okay, some quick and easy tips and tricks for recall. So recall or come. Doggy, come here. I need you to come here to me. So recall or the come cue. We very easily could do a extremely long video on this, but we don't need to. So I'm just going to give you some of my top tips. I think there's about 6 of them. So hopefully this shouldn't take too long. So, okay, tip number 1. The most popular, common, traditionally used word is come. So oftentimes what I see when dogs are not responding to come is they either, one, don't have a thorough understanding of what come means. Like come means, hey, I need you to actually, interrupt what you're doing, stop your attention on that, come over here and see me, please. I need you for something. 2, they've heard it too many times and they just flat out don't care about it anymore. So what can happen is it becomes what's called a poison cue. So poison cue is when we overuse a verbal cue so much, this can often happen with dogs' names, that they stop ignoring it because it doesn't mean anything to them anymore. So if your dog is struggling with the actual word come, I would consider swapping that out with a different word. So you can use their name as long as they're still responding to it. Or I do also recommend using something that's kind of fun to say, something that you can put a lot of emotion into. Good emotion, not bad emotion, but bacon or pineapple or banana. I don't know, something like that. I found ones where you can kind of go higher up in pitch, help a little bit. So consider swapping out your word. Okay, tip number 2, build in a game that goes with recall. So instead of it just being a, hey, when I say your name or this cue or whatever, I need you to come over to me. You can take it one step further and have it be even more rewarding and build in a game. So that can be where they do a certain cue, an additional verbal cue. So I've had a lot of success with having actually middle, which is a placement cue, or touch. So having your dog nose target your hand, or even a different spot on your body. If you have a smaller dog, you can teach them to nose target a certain part of your body, and you can even use a Band-Aid. Different video. Call them when you need them. Call them when you don't actually need them to come over to you. So a lot of times what we do is we only ask for our dog's attention, and we only ask for them to stop what they're doing, put their attention on us, and come over to us when we need them to do something. And oftentimes that means come in from outside. Come away from doing that. Come away from whatever you're doing that is exciting. So a lot of times it's kind of like us being the fun police, and they have a negative association to the word that, oh man, whenever mom or dad says that word and asks me to come to them, it means the fun's gonna stop. Or another one, come here, come here, come here, or, come here so I can put you in the bathtub when you hate getting baths. So practice it when you don't actually need them to do it. And when they do come over to you, reward them immediately and then immediately release them. So it's kind of just like it's a double reward, double bonus. Hey, thank you for your attention. Here's your reward. Be gone. Shoo, poof, I don't actually need you. Tip number 4, use something super duper high value every time. Every time. So I do have another video on using food in training, and on most things we can kind of wean the food out so you don't necessarily need to use the food as much. Recall is one of those things where I would never, ever not reward your dog with some sort of food item if you happen to have one. And I'm talking like high value. I'm talking like your dog will stand on their head for this, or it could be something that they don't usually get. So this is where in your training with this particular behavior that you're cueing them to do, this is where they get the cheese. This is where they get the pepperoni. This is where they get the hot dogs. And that is the only time they get that. So it's kind of sweetening the pot a little bit more and like, hey, it's hot dog time, or it's pepperoni time, or cheese time, whatever your dog likes. So high value every time. Another thing that I often see is we start with our dogs further away from us and then try to bring them in closer to us. And there are so many different things that they have to travel through in the environment to get to you. So I would actually start closer to you and work your way out. So literally your dog is like standing right next to you and you're like, Fluffy, come, or whatever. And then they walk a step. Woo, celebrate, have a party, because technically that's successfully doing a recall. Also, to go and not what's starting closer to you, start in the least distracting environment. So a lot of times we work on this when we're outside on a walk, when we're at the dog park, and then our dog is like, hey, no, oh, I can't hear you. I mean, they actually can hear you, but they're choosing to probably not either acknowledge you, or they're just like, I'm doing something that's way more fun and way more important. So I don't really want to do that. So that way we can set them up for success by starting in a lower distraction environment. So there's less things competing for their attention. So it's easier for them to actually interrupt what they're doing and put their attention on you versus, oh my gosh, there's a squirrel. Oh my gosh, there's another dog. So again, foundation level, and we build upon that. We got to send our doggos to kindergarten and have them work all the way up through the educational levels before we can fairly ask them to be able to do college level coursework. Also, last tip. This is probably going to be the most important tip. If there's really only one tip that you remember, it should be this one. Always, always, always reward. Never, never, never punish. So I don't care if it took your dog 5 minutes to finally come back to you. The fact of the matter is they actually did successfully do the behavior, just not really when you ask them to. So there's still some work to be done, but I guarantee you the best way to teach your dog to not respond to a recall cue and to not want to come over to you is when they do finally come over to you, is if you negatively reinforce that and you punish them for it and you're like, blah, 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 blah. So if you're feeling emotional about it, just remember, pause, take a breath, and then you know what? If you need to tell your dog that they are the worst dog on the planet and you cannot believe they did that, totally fine. But here's another little nugget of advice. Do it with a smile and in a happy tone. Fluffy, you are the absolute worst dog on the planet. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Oh, you're so naughty. You're so naughty. And I know that seems kind of stupid, but your dog doesn't really know the actual words that you're using and the meaning behind them. What they do recognize is the tone. So happy tone equals happy things equals dog is more likely to respond to you. Not so happy tone equals not so happy things, dog is less likely to respond to you. So think of it this way. You know, if sometimes moms growing up will use, you know, children's first and middle name or first, middle, and last name when it's like, okay, that is your final, that's the final thing before I'm gonna blow my gasket. And that, when you heard that, you knew you were in trouble. So did you really want to go to your mom? No, I'm sure you did eventually, but it wasn't really a very positive experience for you. So let's make it a positive experience for our dogs. So Ollie! Hey, Brew. Yeah, good boy. Hi. Coda. Yeah, good girl. Good job. Good puppers. Good boy.